It is. You're good.
You even skipped the code and everything.
You're in. That's all that matters.
All right. Very good. Very good. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Selectmen's meeting, the 6th of June at 5:30. We're going to start off with a presentation discussion with Kevin McMahon concerning a potential disabled veterans property tax exemption. So why don't you bring your chair up, Kevin, and we can we talked a little bit in between, but so why don't you lead off and then we'll take it as it goes.
Okay. For the benefit of the audience, I'll just take a quick 20 seconds, just read this one-page proposal and tell you some of the background. This is proposed in January of 2020. To whom it may concern. I'd like to propose a change to the tax legislation for the town of Old Lyme in regards to the property tax discount for disabled veterans. My proposal would work like this. The discount in the property tax bill would be directly related to the percentage of disability of the veteran. For example, if the veteran were 10% disabled, discount of their property tax bill, not the assessed value, would be reduced by 10%, and this would increase proportionately with disability rating. If the veteran has a property tax bill of $4,000, disability rating of 50%, their tax liability would be reduced to $2,000. Most, if not all, of our disabled veterans are living on a fixed income, and some of them cannot continue to afford to live in Old Lyme. I would also propose a limit, a cap, to the tax reduction of no more than $10,000. If a veteran has a home with a tax bill over this amount, it would be obvious that they were financially independent. Also, this would be exclusive of any other tax incentive or abatement. It has been statistically proven that approximately 1% of Americans volunteer to serve in our armed forces currently since the repeal of the draft post-Vietnam. And I believe it is our duty as citizens to show them some appreciation for the service to this great nation. Respectfully submitted on 6th January of 2020. And some of the conversations that Tim and I have had face-to-face, I was also in the town hall today talking with Mickey in the tax assessor's office. The questions that Tim and I raised together on a verbal conversation on the phone the other day is, I'm sure anybody can ask a very valid question, what does this mean to the town's tax base as far as dollar value? And Mickey was telling me that she wasn't sure whether or not she could provide me with that information because of Privacy Act. I don't know with freedom of information, or if she could do a query with, is this affecting 20 people? Is this affecting 200 people? Those are questions that I can't answer because I don't have access to that information. I also know that state laws are dictating what the exemptions are, which currently state $5,000 reduction in the assessed value. And with our current mill rate, which just changed at the last budget meeting, it's 0.0232, if I'm not mistaken, 23.2, 23.5? Okay. That works out to, personally, me, a savings of $116 on a tax bill. If you take that times the $5,000 reduction, it's a savings of $116, which I think is less than a tank of gas these days in today's economy.
Kevin, we talked about this, and so in the same circular you have, which is the OLR background,
correct?
Yeah. In that summary toward the bottom, it says the exemption amount, which is the local option, is a reduction in the property's assessed value on which taxes are owed, not a credit against the amount of the tax.
Correct.
So how do you, you say it's going to be, whatever the rating is, it's going to be that much percentage off the tax bill.
Correct. The town has the ability to do that in accordance with this same document.
But it seems that it's got to come off the assessment. So if there was something off the assessment, then that's not as significant as the tax reduction.
Well, I beg to differ because I believe it is. For example, I'll just use some round numbers for common sense purposes. If my house is assessed at $400,000 and the tax bill is, say, $6,000 a year, 10% of that tax bill would be $600. We agree? 10% of $6,000. If my assessment is dropped by 10%, my assessment would now go down to $360,000. So I will only be taxed on $360,000 versus $400,000. So whether or not you take the percentage off the tax bill or the assessment, the numbers are going to be extremely close to the same dollar value that is owed to the town. Because if you reduce the value of the assessment, you're reducing the taxes owed, proportionately. So 10% of your tax bill is going towards 10% of your assessed value. So if you reduce one, it would only make sense that you're reducing them both because of what's due on the tax bill. Any disagreement with that, Matt?
Well, I'm following you. All the stuff I've researched, none of them have talked about tax bills, all been values of vehicles and or property.
Okay.
No,
I agree.
First, I've heard that. I've looked up several times, including.
I think I sent you something by email, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I got that. And I did like East Lyme, Bloomfield, Southington, Clinton, Hartford, and most of them are consistent, or they all say percent of tax value. And one of them actually has a really good table about Bloomfield goes through about, you talked about your disability rating and stuff like that. They have a chart for the different ratings,
Okay.
how much it is. So there's definitely information out there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And I shared this with the selectmen too, so they can look at it as a reference to say, what makes sense. I did, Linda today as well, trying to see if I could access just a number. I just know how many people are currently
That's a valid question.
are currently applied for the state plan.
We need to make sure that we get the correct question asked because there's a veteran exemption and a disability exemption.
Right.
So depending on which query they do in their field.
So you're looking at disability exemptions and then just the veterans?
Correct.
You want on the regular veterans, but then a disability on top?
Correct. And in that same document that Kenny was just referring to, page 3 of 6, it has exemptions for disabled veterans, and there's an additional clause in there. In addition to the state-mandated exemptions, municipalities may adopt an additional optional exemption. So the state doesn't mandate how much you can do, they mandate how little you can do.
Right, I just didn't know if the state allows it to be not the assessed value, but...
I think if you change the wording, I'd be totally fine with that. Change the wording to be a percentage in correlation to the assessed value, because in my accounting mind, if you reduce the assessed value, you're reducing the tax liability by the same value. If you reduce your tax...
I just haven't seen one that said tax bill. Most of them all said assessed
value
of a car or if they don't own a house.
I think
registered in the town.
There is something in the town that has an exemption to the tax bill itself, and that's for our volunteer firefighters. That's $1,000 off their tax bill right off the top.
Right.
For volunteers.
As an exemption.
Right. And most of these outposts too, the towns, they change most of the town's policies adjust the income levels to try to incorporate more people. Because the state has one income level, and most of the towns tweak it a little higher, try to incorporate more.
I mean, if we go forward with something of this nature, I mean, we definitely have to look at some caps as well. I mean, if somebody's living in a $2 million house, and they're obviously doing fairly financially well.
Right.
It wouldn't apply. There's got to be some give and take.
We obviously want a policy that can capture the most people and help the most people.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the disability payment, if it's a 10% rating, it's $152 and change.
Correct. I think I sent you that chart.
And if it's it goes up to 300. And then as you get into the higher disabilities, then it increases itself. So, I guess, and then depending on so forth, it can range up to almost $2,200 depending. So,
correct.
I guess as we were talking on the phone, there are veterans who are entitled to $6,000 off the assessment, and there's no medical thing about that.
Correct, that's veterans.
Right. Now, so then the question about who might have a veteran's disability, it might be because it's medical, so I don't know.
Well, Mickey, I met with her today, and the woman, the tax assessor herself, was not in the office.
Right.
And she wanted to check with her boss before she provided me with any of that information, which I agree with you. I'm
what
totally
I'm getting at is that if a veteran does not perceive there's a benefit, they might not tell the town that they have a veteran's disability of X percent. I don't know that veterans are asked to convey that information to the town for any reason.
I don't have that answer.
Yeah, so it may be tough to go to the assessor and say, give me all your census of people with a disability. So you might have to just guess what it would be. Yeah. It's probably not a huge number in any event, but so I think we can take some of these other examples and look at them. We realize that depending on the number, obviously what this group of people do not pay will fall to the other taxpayers to make it up. So that's something we bear in mind, and that's true with a couple of different things that we do. So I think we can, do you have anything more to add? Or I think we could work with Matt on this. He's got some things here we can put our heads together.
Copy what your proposal was, just
Sure.
so I have it.
The one question that I will leave the table with is, what is, and if any, what is the next step? I mean, what is the process to try and either make this happen, or town vote, or referendum? I'm not familiar with the process that needs to happen to make anything come to fruition. So after tonight's meeting, when I propose this in front of this group, what is the next step, and approximately how long do we think that might take?
Probably we would do a small meeting to kind of sort out the issues. Then ultimately, I guess it would go to the Board of Selectmen. It would then probably have to be approved by the Board of Finance, and then whether it would require a town meeting, possibly it would. Yeah. That's sort of the general pattern of things that have money attached to it.
I've seen in a couple of towns paperwork that says Board of Selectmen approved. It didn't say any farther about if it was a town meeting or not. So
I imagine you go to Board of Finance.
Yeah, definitely. But it did say Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen approved this policy. So classified as a policy or a tax, that's where we got to just maybe get some.
I have more questions than answers, but thank you.
So, Jim, are you thinking that this is going to take months, or could it?
I would say probably couple, 3 to get it to final form, with everything else.
That's fine.
We might speak to these towns and say, did you get a list of people with veteran disability, or did you just have to guess? Because I don't think that's be a matter of record.
Well,
census.
The ones that are currently filed out is definitely a matter of record. It's on Mickey's computer. She was telling me she couldn't show me, obviously, because she wasn't sure of the FOI or the HIPAA. And, But my assumption was, if you file a document in the town hall, it's almost like the vault. I can go in there and search any piece of paper I want 7 days a week.
Well, probate's off limits. Maybe things with medical.
I don't have that answer so well. She was going to check with her boss, who just happened to be out today, the actual assessor.
And Jim, you would have access to it.
Right. Versus me as a taxpayer.
Right.
Yeah. But as a selectman, I would assume that it's information that should be available to you as well. With Mickey doing a query on her computer.
If we had pretty good confidence that a lot of veterans who have a rating are in this pool, whatever it is, then that'd be a help for sure.
Right.
Quantify it.
Okay.
So we could maybe.
Or if we get a list of the veterans that are listed as veterans, if we send them a letter saying, the type of correspondence we're getting this information. Are you willing to share if you are or not?
And you could encourage any veterans that that reside in town to reach out to us to just let us know that yes, I would qualify for this program. They don't have to give us specifics, but just say that they would qualify. It gives us if they're willing to share that information.
That $6,000 exemption is a matter of record, and that is on the property card.
But the disability part is separate.
I mean, you could contact that census of people, and within that there would be these folks.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have access to that.
Right.
I appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, gentlemen. Ma'am, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Matt, I do have a copy of his letter.
Okay. Any more questions on this then?
I think they were good. We'll give you a call maybe next week.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
Minutes.
Well, I thought that in talking to a representative of the neighbors of the town of Mahague land, there was a suggestion that we might move item number FC up to follow this one so that people wouldn't have to wait around until that time to hear an update request for that.
So you want to amend the agenda?
We could ask for a motion to move item FC up below the veterans tax matter. No, thank you. Out of order.
Sorry. No problem.
You're getting pretty bold here.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda and move item FC, Chantilly Mahague Landing update to letter A1 or B.
Yeah. We're going to be FC will follow A.
Yes.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, in terms of the town of Mahague Landing, I spoke with the town council, and he said that the work that the firm is still doing on title is ongoing, and because it's falling under the Freedom of Information, that we can't get into. I think that we really want to get to the bottom of this. I know it's been a very long time, and it's been anxious for all of us. I know that things have been happening at the property that intrude on the property, and so I think pedestrians are welcome to come to the property. So I'm hoping that now that it's springtime, that people who wish to use it and walk there and so forth. I know that the sensitive thing is the automobile traffic. So we are doing some additional research that's taking time, and so things are moving slowly, albeit moving. So that's basically all I have to say at this point, unless the Selectmen have other words to say.
Only I just want to make sure that any email we get from townspeople just gets forwarded to the town attorney, just so we have a paper trail of all patterns here. Make sure it's happening.
Hopefully pedestrians are still welcome, and I think that the vehicle issue is the major issue. So, but if people can work around that and still enjoy the property until this very good. Okay, we can now turn to the minutes. We have minutes from May 2nd, which was our regular meeting. A motion on the minutes of May 2nd.
Make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes from May 2nd, 2020.
I'll second. I don't have anything.
Nope.
All right, we may vote. All in favor as presented? Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. The special meeting of 25th of May, which focused on the affordable housing plan adoption and the Soundview rates and times and so forth.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on May 22nd, 2022.
I'll second. I do have a change on that.
Okay.
In under number 2, the second paragraph where it starts with Selectwoman Shoemaker, I think we should say something to the effect that after further research, she felt that the rates were very expensive, and had discussed that in the last previous Downview Operations Advisory Committee meeting.
Do you have a sentence that we can...
I'll put it into verb, and I'll give it to
Okay.
Dan.
All right. Anything else? All right, so we incorporating that that modification, we set to approve the minutes as modified. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. All right. So now we will turn to comment. I guess we'll start with people on the telephone. See if there's public comment on the phone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Hi, this is Linda Acabellis of 57 Colt Lane.
Say that again, please.
This is Linda Acabellis of 57 Colt Lane.
Okay, yes.
Hi. It has been frustrating. I know Martha noted that at the last meeting in terms of us not really getting any information. And I do appreciate you, Tim, moving this item up on the meeting because it was a long wait last time and to lead to nothing. One of my concerns is at this point is the contradictory information coming from the individuals adjacent in the property adjacent to the town landing, and what you have stated as to not be true. And this is very concerning because this this information is out there, and I'm wondering if there's any plan to clarify this in the immediate future.
Could you be a bit more specific as to the contradiction?
Statements that have been brought to your attention, and statements such as your belief, your namely belief, First Selectman Griswold, that you have stated to the residents adjacent to the town landing that you understand that they own the property.
No, I have to wear it. I'm going to wear it permanently.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Hello?
All right. I hear you.
I couldn't hear that.
Tim,
yeah, so I just am looking because there's been a lot of information out there that's been stated, and I think it's concerning, and I think the community would really appreciate coming to some conclusion around this matter as soon as possible.
Well, we all very much want that for sure. I do not believe that I should be characterized as saying the property belongs to the abutters.
Yes, I would be concerned about that myself if I were you. So I understand that, but I'm just letting you know that information is going out there around that, and it is concerning. Yep, and the information they say they have that proves it, and is concerning. So the sooner we can all get information and shared with us, I think will be helpful for everybody in the community concerned about the matter.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim, can we just stop for a second, and can we just make a statement to everyone who's on the phone? If you are not speaking, please hit your mute buttons. We can hear what you're talking about in your homes, and we would appreciate it if you would please put your phones on mute.
Anyone else on the telephone who wants to make a public comment before we turn to the audience? All right. Let's see. There's a start. That's supposed to mute, but it didn't seem to work. Okay, so from the hall here, who wishes to make a public comment? So Gary Nazzo, Frank Murata. Yeah.
Frank, why don't you come up so that it can be captured on the tape?
Yeah.
On the new parking rates, I know there's another meeting on Wednesday morning. If they were to be changed on Wednesday, how long would it take to put them into effect?
Or others have to make some signage.
My concern is that right now you're making people stay in a beach for 8 to 10 hours. And we don't want that. I think that's where we're running into problems. They want to get their money's worth, for $80 or whatever they have to pay for a full day. They're going to stay there. And to go back to the hourly rate, I mean, I spend a lot of time in Florida on the beaches and all of that, and it's so organized. It's they go by 2-hour blocks, and I think you never listen to the business community with your Soundview advisory board, and I think it's got to be changed. Otherwise, we're going to run into what we ran into Memorial Day. And I think we're all on the same team, but for some reason we keep on butting heads, and we all want the same thing. But
were there any problems this weekend?
I'm sorry?
Were there any problems this weekend compared to Memorial Day weekend?
No, not nearly as much. But it wasn't busy at all.
Now, there is the 5-hour rate. That's not everybody has to sign up for the full day.
Yeah, I realize that. But, some people just want to come for a couple hours. And, you'd make out better if you went with the hourly rate. If someone wanted to stay the 8 hours, than you would with the $80. And, we offer no amenities.
You're not an amenity?
Yeah. And, there should really be a committee formed to look to the state for some help on, keeping the beaches clean, putting the bathrooms in. Of course, the state of Connecticut doesn't have enough beaches. We all know that. Rocky Neck fills up in no time, and then we get the overflow. But there should be someone looking at, deep, say, hey, we need $100,000 to help our beaches. They're really public. We want to keep them public. But instead we go into this whole parking thing. And I would like to go down that road and see if we can get some more money from the state. And maybe that's done through our Soundview Commission, whatever. And that's all I really have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good day. Hi, I'm Mike Westy from the Harbor Management Commission here in town.
Yeah, you can be amplified here.
Very good, thank you. Good evening. In an effort for knowledge and transparency, the Harbor Management Commission would like to go on public record and make it known of our intent and planning for the public use and enjoyment of the property located at 36-1 Button Ball Road, which has all been in the news recently. As most of you are aware of the history of the property, the reason it was donated to the state of Connecticut and eventually the town of Lyme for access to the Black Claw River, I will not go into detail on how and why we arrived at this point. Rather, we would like to lay out a clear and environmentally appropriate plan for its intended and donated use. As we see it on the Commission, it would be best to use a tiered approach and to submit a 3-phase plan for eventual use by the public of our town. Phase 1 would consist of the following: a favorable, deep environmental feasibility response as anticipated, given the numerous conversations we've had with experts and state officials prior to this date. Next would be town approval for the public to gain access to the property for its intended use. I know there's been some ambiguity there, things said in the press that are causing some confusion, and I think that would be phase one to clear any of that up. Phase two, we would like to put up signage and exact limits to the property with utmost respect given to the abutting property owners. Natural post and rail fencing of some sort to mark clear delineation of a parking area with no more than 10 spaces to be used at any given time. Cleanup of seasonal growth so as a natural path to the water is evident. Environmental signage to educate the public about the ecology, the natural beauty of the area, and the need to preserve and minimally impact this property. Also, a sunrise to sunset hours of use are posted for regulatory purposes. That's what we hope to achieve this season. Now, moving forward for phase three, looking ahead, we look to expand in the near future to access to the river for non-power boating, such as canoes and kayaks. This will ensure the property is brought back into use as intended after being dormant for so long. Additionally, we members of the HMC have serious concerns with lack of transparency and communication stemming from the Open Space Committee. It was our understanding and agreement that any environmental or property surveys that were to be completed are communicated with both inland wetlands and HMC. To date, that has not happened, or it's been extremely limited. In the age of robust communication options, this should not be too difficult and should be easily achievable. Because of these concerns, we desire a timely decision from the Board of Selectmen to determine which commission will have primary responsibility for advancing this property as intended and deeded for the enjoyment of the people of Old Lyme. I thank you for your time and consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions or clarify anything on this proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
If you want.
How you doing? Rebecca Griffin. Do you want to know where I live? I live here in Old Lyme. Thank you for moving Tanamaheg up on the agenda. I appreciate that. Just want to clarify a couple of things. So you mentioned in your update a lot about pedestrian traffic and that being okay. What happens if someone drives down there now?
I think there are some impediments down there near the ice house, so-called. So I think there's limited space at the moment for a vehicle to navigate down there and stay on the landing.
So the impediments are the shrubs and things that the property owners have planted?
Yes.
So if I were to drive down there, take my 87-year-old mother down to look at the water, and the property owner comes up and asks me who I am, can I stay there?
Well, I think that would probably turn into a situation. I don't know whether the abutters would, just what they would do, but obviously they have expressed a desire that they don't want vehicles down there, and we are still going through our process here. So it would be nice to have the full answers as to the title and everything before we made blanket statements. But if it were clearly town property, I think that we would have more definitive answer.
I don't understand why it's taken 2 years. You know, this, I don't understand. And it is a long way to walk, even if you are bringing in a kayak and you want to put in. That's a long way to walk with a kayak. I understand that they They want to keep vehicles out of there. I get it. But this has never been a problem before. So I guess my concern is we still don't have an answer. It's been almost 2 years. And I would really like to know that if I were to, again, drive somebody down there with a disability, that I want assurance that, that's okay for me to do. Because right now, it is town property, right? Aren't we assuming it's town property? It sounds like we're assuming that it's their property.
Public comment, so.
So, I guess I'm not really getting an answer to any of my questions.
Tim, can I just ask you, you're hoping that within the next month we have more information, correct?
Yes.
So 30 days from now, you should have more information.
Okay. And if we want to email, do we email all of you and then you forward it to the attorney? Is that what the process will be?
We're trying to create a paper trail.
Okay.
Anybody has the letters.
Okay.
It's not a he said, she said thing. It's just, it could be a he said, but it's on paper and we have a paper trail so we can.
Okay.
If we ever need it.
All right. Terrific. All right. That's very helpful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Kathleen Tracy, 76 Hartford Avenue, and I have some concerns about some of the transparency of the decisions that are being made at Soundview Beach with the layering of the advisory board who meet at times that are really difficult for a lot of the public to be able to attend. There was a lot of anger at the last Soundview Commission meeting with people who are feeling like their voice is not being heard. I feel that way. I wasn't quite as angry as some of the people were there, and I kind of felt bad for the chair who took a lot of heat, which is not appropriate, and I don't think that's right, but I understand their anger. And I think one of the things that they were angry about and that I've heard subsequently since that meeting are the parking cost increase being too steep. It's understandable, the rates have to go up, but I guess the question is the rate and the degree of the increase. And I know there's been a lot of negotiating back and forth, but I don't think a lot of the people who are in the public and also maybe the businesses have not had their voice in this. I guess some people are feeling, and I think I've questioned, is this another attempt to keep the public from the beach? I remember when I first came there, it was over 90 spots. And now we're down to 66. But, it's like little bit by little bit eroding the number of people who are allowed to the beach because the parking is not available or it's so expensive, it's not family friendly. And honestly, I want a family friendly place. So that's a concern of mine. I think that the parking is too steep. Finally, I just want to thank you for getting the swim lines in and in the right location. I really appreciate that. I know it was a real challenge last year. I hope that we can do this again next year and that we can move the timeline to Mother's Day to get the lines in and in the right place by Mother's Day, because this will avoid the really dangerous and sad situation that happened the week before Memorial Day, because the lines were not in and the boats were in the swimming zone and it was a nightmare. And I just think if you've got a whole year to, from Labor Day till Mother's Day, I think you can figure out how to get those lines in there by then so that when the weather is nice, the week before Memorial Day and people are coming to the beach, we're safe and protected. Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller, 6 Somerset Lane. In full disclosure, elected to Zoning Commission and appointed to Inland Wetlands Commission as well. I penned an opinion piece a few weeks back that was in the Connecticut Examiner. I won't go over the whole thing, but I did recommend 3 items to the Board of Selectmen, and it's a public record what I wrote. I just want to support harbor management to take authority over 36.1-1 Button Ball Road. As you heard tonight, they have a clear plan to assume responsible stewardship of this property. They are respectful of the abutter. They are respectful that the public has a right to be down there. And they are respectful of the delicate ecology of the area. They certainly wouldn't act until they receive a study back from DEEP, which would be the basis of how the town should go forward to allow public access and respect the environment. In my opinion, open space has vacated its authority over this property. Mr. Barnes, who's in the audience, has done an incredible job of doing title work and searching this property. There's a letter that goes back a number of years from the abutter attempting a land swap. So the abutter knew 36-1 was open space. There was an attempt to swap that property with another piece of property so the abutter could own 36-1. In my mind as an attorney, that is proof that the abutter and the leadership of open space knew that was open space property and purposely kept it off the inventory list and has been actively thwarting public use of that property. In my opinion, open space has abandoned its authority or potential authority of that property. They do not have the public interest in mind. They have personal interest in mind. I think the leadership of the Open Space Committee should be looked at and referred to the Town Ethics Committee. And I think the Board of Selectmen very, very quickly to appoint Harbor Management as the jurisdictional entity for this property. We've had two issues now in town where it looks like the public is being thwarted access to our property to access the water. This one is clear as day. Open space has not been acting in the best interest of the public. Harbor Management has. I think this is something the Board of Selectmen can move forward on very quickly.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I'm Paula Melillo on 21 Portland Avenue, Old Line.
Could you say your name again, please?
Paula Melillo.
Okay.
And I kind of briefly heard an announcement on May 26th. Governor Lamont launches a Find Your Vibe campaign promoting Connecticut tourism, summer tourism. And I was wondering if any monies were coming to Old Line from that bill. If you were aware of that from the Office of Tourism?
No.
Not.
I've not heard.
No. Okay.
I mean,
Well,
the money goes often to the regional tourism boards. I don't know if there's direct town funds. Do you know whether it goes to towns or to the tourism?
I know. I just heard him announce this, that there would be money available, for promoting tourism. So I was just wondering, in Old Line, we have so many treasures for an Academy of Art and Connecticut River, and of course, Soundview Beach, a public beach. So I'm here to ask if there are funds available and if there's a plan to promote these treasures in Old Line.
No specific funding I know of.
Paula, was it a specific bill?
I thought so, but I couldn't find it just now.
Called?
I thought he was signing something, on the.
On that day.
He launched a campaign, Find Your Vibe campaign promoting Connecticut's summer tourism season. I thought he was signing.
We'll have to get more specifics.
I'll do some research on that.
Yeah.
See if I can
Okay.
find anything.
All right, thank you, Martha. Thank you.
Anyone else? In the back. Today?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Will Sanford of 31 Colt Lane. I just wanted to address my concerns with Tanamaheek. We purchased the home a little less than a year ago, and one of the selling points for our home was it had local water access on our street. And our concern going forward from here is if that does shift in a different way, that'll adversely affect the value of our home going forward, because that was one of the selling points that we were promised as when we purchased the home. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Everyone. My name's Rachel Claudio. I am here as chair of the Wetlands Commission. I'm talking during public comment because I wasn't sure if the chairs were going to be asked to sit with you all and discuss the update to 36-1 Button Ball Road. So if we are, I can hold for then.
We haven't scheduled the next step. This is getting off of public comment, but I think that the Open Space Committee is obtaining a review of the property, and I think that would be a good opportunity to sit and look at that and then put our heads together and see where we are.
There are some other concerns, though, that I think the Board of Selectmen should address as we move forward. I emailed all of you on May 15th, and that was quite a long email, so I apologize. And on that email, I CC'd Evan Griswold, the co-chair of Open Space, because Amanda Blair, the other co-chair, and the abutting property resident, had previously answered for Open Space after having recused herself on this matter. I did attend the previous Open Space meeting that was held over the phone, where Co-Chair Blair read aloud a statement saying that she had spoken to her attorney and that she did not have a conflict, and that she would be taking away her recusal. And I do find issue with that. Mike Miller, who is on my commission and who had just done a public comment, he did a wonderful job, so I'm not going to keep belaboring the point. But I think that before we move forward, we have to address whether this recusal is still standing, who has the ability to speak on behalf of Open Space. I think that, going forward, in my May 15th email, I made it very clear that I thought Harbor Management and Inland Wetlands should be CC'd on all communications going forward. And Mr. Griswold did give me the name of the person that was going to be doing a study on behalf of Open Space, but I haven't received any other communication or been CC'd. And neither has Harbor Management. I have, during this meeting, emailed Mr. Griswold the contact information for Christab, the chair of Harbor Management. But I was very clear in my May 15th email that I think that if Co-Chair Blair had been facilitating this communication, that it could be tainted because she should have recused herself. And if we are not CC'd on this communication, I am concerned about what's being hidden. It seems like one of the big concerns of Open Space was that taxpayer money was going to be expended doing a study with DEEP, but right now we're looking at doing 2 studies and expending even more of the taxpayers' money. So I think that before a formal study is done by Open Space, really the commissions need to sit down, because obviously it's not happening through email. Before the board moves forward in determining who has jurisdiction, we all have to sit down and look what's been presented just on the basis of the land records and some of the information about the land swap, which is, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So I think that the issue of the recusal and potential conflict has to be
It's my impression that she sent a note in recently that she is, in fact, recusing herself.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
So
She sent me a personal email when I asked her. I sent that email asking that she recuse herself from this, and she said that she had consulted her attorney, but she didn't have to. So
Yeah, but I got something. I'll send it around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say. If you guys want to
Now, just for clarity, you mentioned that the DEP study is going to cost money?
Mm-hmm. So yes, any DEP study or deep study now is going to cost money. But if we're now paying for 2 studies, that's going to be a significant expense.
Yeah, because what I understood was that a DEP representative was present, but I didn't understand that there was yet a study ordered by
I'm not aware of
someone.
that because Inland Wetlands has a very small strip of the land on this property that it has jurisdiction over.
Is it your commission is having the DEP study commissioned or no?
No.
It would be HMC?
Yes. Whoever was talking about access to the water would have to go through DEEP because it's a tidal wetland at that point, so Inland Wetlands doesn't have jurisdiction.
Right, okay. Because I knew that there was a representative at the property, but I didn't know what was next happening that would cost money.
So I believe that happened before Inland Wetlands ever got involved with this, and my impression of it was that they were more informal, seeing what could be done because of the language in the deed itself. That was gifted in the 50s, then there was a Supreme Court case in the 60s. You know, the state had this land for a period of time and they didn't do anything with it. I think that comes down to budget issues with the state. And then they gave it to the town to provide that access. And it has been actively thwarted for over 20 years. And the Open Space Commission does wonderful work. I do not mean to disparage them in any way. I know Co-Chair Blair has done a lot of work for this town on other properties. But when it's the property next to the co-chair of Open Space that has been actively hidden with no trespassing signs, it doesn't look good on the optics. And that's all I have to say on that. I don't think that, we should have Open Space Commission looked at with a magnifying glass for everything they do. But this one instance, especially given the prior communication, wanting to be involved in finding an expert, I think before any money is spent, the commissions and the town need to know who has jurisdiction of this property before moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. I guess we can now move on to communication. I received a letter from MIRA, which is the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority. As people know, the town opted out of the contract with MIRA, and that contract involves moving our refuse and recycling from the Essex Transfer Station to the Hartford disposal area. And we have now signed up, or we haven't actually signed up, but we're going to be using CWPM, who collects our trash and recycling locally, to do the whole effort. We will be taking our refuse and recycling to New London and then to Trash to Energy and so forth. So that's coming on July.
Have you signed that contract yet?
No,
Okay.
it's being reviewed.
Just one thing that I had heard, some information, is that some people or towns might be charged an extra fee for that going to New London. I just want to make sure that we
No, it's part, we do have a contract which specifies charges for the processing,
Right.
Where there's 2 elements. One is the trucks collecting all week long,
Right.
and then the second is to get rid of it from which used to be Essex. Now
Right.
we have to get it to New London,
Right.
with CWPM. Their pricing method is different. MIRA was not charging for recycling, or does not charge for recycling,
I remember that.
but they charge a lot more for the tonnage
Right.
of bulk, municipal solid waste. So it's going to be a lower municipal solid waste charge, and then recycling will bear a charge based on the cleanliness and quality of the recycled materials. But it'll be slightly less initially, but as time goes on, we think it will, over 5 years, becomes considerably less expensive.
Yep. Sure.
So I think there were at the high something like 52 towns participating in MIRA all over the state, going to various disposal transfer stations. So 29 communities have opted out, and there are 23 remaining. So that represents about 60,000 tons a year, and I think in the heyday, CRA MIRA would handle 700,000 tons, so it's about 10%. So the Hartford facility will cease after July 1 to be the destination for these transfer stations, and so they're also going to have Essex and Torrington as the transfer stations. And their pricing is as they described it. I think the pricing for year 2 and beyond is not certain, nor was it when we looked at the proposal, but the first year is set. So obviously, it's not surprising that with the state of trash in the state of Connecticut, you have all these other towns and cities that are moving to different haulers and so forth. I'm not sure what these haulers are going to do. I don't think there's enough in-state capacity in the way of trash to energy to handle it all. So undoubtedly, I believe it will have to be trucked out of state. But we are nevertheless pursuing we're going to be using CWPM and good. And so that kicks off on July 1st. I think it's important to note that because we will be charged for the recycling based on the quality of it, we're going to have to saturate with some information instructing people that it's in our best interest financially to have our recycling as good a quality as possible. And particularly that means people should not put recycling in the green bin in plastic bags. That's a big no-no because it can reject the whole load. So if you see people with plastic bags in their green bin, please ask them to change that and I think there'll be some enforcement in a way that if the truck driver sees plastic bags, he'll probably just leave it with a tag on the container saying you're not supposed to put it in a plastic bag. So anyway, we think we're on the right track, and come July 1, we'll switch over.
So I have 2 questions. One is we talked about doing a much more extensive educational piece to this.
Yeah.
More than just warning in a meeting.
Well,
we need to.
The Sustainable Committee is working up, and we might be able to get something in the tax bills, perhaps.
And I'm sure that CWPM.
Yeah.
But it's CWPM must have some material that is already published informing their clients. And when are you planning on signing that contract?
It's been looked at by the council, and it's out to the vendor for their remarks.
Okay.
We sent that out and looking at it.
So they have it right there. Okay, great.
Yep. The next matter is that the school has approved the town's fireworks to be held on the 30th of July, which is in conjunction with Midsummer Festival. Evan, you better move the chairs here. You're squinting too much. Midsummer's on the Friday, the 29th. There'll be the concert at the Florence Schuylkill Museum, lawn at the river, and then the 30th will be Midsummer with the activities up and down the street. The Alliance Car Show will be held at the Roger Torrey Peterson. facility formerly known as the Bee and Thistle, so things are good there. So it's great. The location for the actual fireworks has to be moved away from that synthetic field, so a spark won't make a hole in it. So that's coming along.
So I believe we received an email today from Kerma saying, we have to have a contract with the town or with the school?
With the shooter, yeah.
So do we have that yet?
Not yet. It was, I know that Dave Roberge had me sign something, so it's being assembled as we speak, basically.
Okay, because Kerma would like to get that into our bill.
A bill?
Yeah, it's to include it in our July 1st, starting our new contract. So I think that came out today in an email to us.
The fireworks contract?
Yeah, I do believe it was in...
Because that would be, the contract would be shown
Kerma
to...
said, please forward the fireworks vendor agreement so we can send it for contract review.
Yeah.
It's on May 17th.
Yeah, that's underway.
So, okay.
Yep.
So that'll get done?
Yeah, we have, I know it was shown to me end of last week, and so it needs a schedule of what the shells will be, if you will. So that's coming.
I think she'd just be happy if she could get the vendor information. Vendor agreement. Is that vendor? Yeah. Okay.
New Hampshire. Okay, so that's that. Appointments. We have one appointment to consider. It is an alternate position on the Planning Commission. It's a one-year term, which ends in January of 23, and at the suggestion of the chairman and some additional input, the name of Jim Lampos has been suggested to be the alternate.
I would be happy to make the motion for Jim Lampos to fill the alternate position that expires in January 30th of 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on it? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you. All right, turning to project updates, Halls Road. The Halls Road Committee will be working on the zoning overlay district language. They'll be meeting, I think it's Thursday. They hope to, on June 13th, vote to recommend the language. They do have BSC, the consultant, as well as an attorney working with them on that. When they pass it on the 13th, then it would ultimately get in front of zoning on the 8th of August. They will be sending it to us, so I think at our July meeting we will weigh in on that as the applicant for the committee, because the committee doesn't have the standing.
Right.
So that's draft. If the selectmen would like to look at it, I think it's Thursday they'll be looking at the draft, and then they'll be voting on the 13th.
Okay.
Soundview sidewalks. The transportation hub is moving along. There have been a number of things going on there with the paving and gravel and the decorative post and rope and so forth. There was also a discussion about the proposed parking having to do with the Soundview employee parking from principally the Kokomos, and so because of a provision in that approval, the parking is not going to be an option at that site. So without, there would be some more process required if that were to be the case. So people were informed that that is not an option. So I think they're picking up the pieces, and it should be the bus shelter will be coming, I think, later in the summer, but the rest of the amenities around the bus shelter should be installed, and I'm not sure when that's likely to be available for public use as a turning in there, but not yet. So, you want to say anything about that? Okay, coming along. The Soundview sewers, the grant which was submitted application for, I guess it's a state and tribal assistance grant through Courtney's office was denied, and the group met with Commissioner Boughton, and he's working on he has some ideas with his staff. He's in Department of Revenue Services, but he's also working on behalf of the governor on certain drainage and other sorts of things. So he came down and met with us, and there might be some other programs that we can cobble together to help out. The thought being that the price increases that we've seen for the job, actually it would be, the infrastructure, that's the common infrastructure, the collection pipe, the pump station, force main, and so forth, that the price increases have been quite astonishing from what they were projected to be to what they are at the moment. So the beaches and the town will need some outside funding. There was hope that there could be some grant money that would be available. There was also hope, and I don't know that this is an option still, but by increasing the Clean Water Fund percentage from 25 to roughly 50%, that would go a long way toward helping us. So there are a number of things being worked on, and I think it's very important that we are successful in some regard getting some extra grant money, because it's not going to work probably if there's no external funding beyond what we have. The senior center, the budget includes the provision for the architectural work on that in the amount of $281,000. Lime would reimburse us for their share, 25%, so that's $70,250. So, and talking with the chairwoman of the committee, why that contract has been received, they'll be looking at it, and ultimately probably the selectmen will ask, along with the town of Lyme, to review it and ratify it. The work will happen during the year, and during 23 we should have plans and specifications so that would get us closer to going out to bid, possibly in calendar 24 or fiscal 24. The Ferry Road sidewalk, that we had a public information meeting for residents. We had maybe a dozen people who were in attendance, so that the tree posting of it would be, 5 trees. There were 3 sort of principal trees and 2 small cherry trees that were deemed by the tree warden to have to be removed. So that process took a long time, but I think everyone seemed content. There were no protests to the tree postings, which was surprised to see, because when we had Lime Street project, that created a lot of questions. Not that there haven't been concerns, but we worked hard talking with the abutters and so forth about the trees, and I think we had a good result there. Following the hearing, the committee recommended that the sidewalk, in fact, be retained on the north side, reconstructed on the north side versus the south side, and I don't know if I will get to this. Okay. I made a memo which I can read. It's to the selectmen from myself as the chairman of that committee. Committee recommendation that the replacement sidewalk be installed on the north side of Ferry Road. At the May 20th meeting of the Ferry Road Sidewalk Committee, the following motion was passed unanimously. After considering various elements of whether the replacement Ferry Road sidewalk should be located on the south side of the street or remain on the north side of the street, the members of the Ferry Road Sidewalk Committee recommended to the Board of Selectmen that the replacement sidewalk remain on the north side of the street for the safety of the walking public and for the retention of a majority of the shade trees. The members of the Ferry Road Sidewalk Committee respectfully request the Board of Selectmen to vote in favor of the above motion. That would then solidify that point. We have the engineer who will be ready to move forward with finishing up the work on the engineering, which should be fairly far down the road. And this morning we got a renewal from the Historic District Commission for the certificate of appropriateness for another year on that project. So we're set there, and so we should be able to get the engineering work completed and then be in a position to go out to bond and hopefully get some attractive bids to install the sidewalk after Labor Day, probably toward the end of September into October time frame. So
we'll be making that motion under new business.
Yes.
And then, Tim, when are we going to see a budget on this project?
That will be, now that we're through with all these details, the tree removal will be a factor as well. So the engineer will have an estimate of probable cost type of budget. So we'll
see everything that we've spent on this, because we've spent a lot of time on this. I mean, I know you've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah. So I would say, but our next meeting, we should be able to review that or shoot that around before that.
Okay. And we do have a grant for some of that, I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Swan Brook, the American Rescue Plan Committee recommended that project be funded in the amount of $55,000, I understand. So that, I think there'll be a final recommendation Wednesday from the committee on all the various fundings, I guess.
Well, we were going to present it to you at a meeting, and that meeting is not going to be Wednesday. We're putting together the presentation.
Right, but hopefully we can get a list just so we have that, and then I think what I'm working on, a plan to have the Board of Finance and the Selectmen have a joint meeting for their meeting on, I think it's the 19th, is
No,
it?
the 21st.
21st.
But that's a problem, because that's the Music Live on Lime Street night.
7:30?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's from 5 o'clock on. And last year we scheduled a meeting in here when it was taking place, and it was kind of disruptive to the meeting. Plus, it kind of takes away from the fact that we're trying to encourage an event.
Well,
so you and I had talked last week about maybe the 22nd, and that maybe Board of finance can move their meeting to the
Yeah,
22nd.
I
and
guess
we
everybody has to do it.
Meet jointly.
It would be okay with us, because it's a special meeting. I don't, I think they just have to have a special meeting instead of a regular meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We can
Can you
discuss
talk to
that.
David Kelsey about that?
I'll see if he can talk with his members and see if that works.
Because
that way, we would have one presentation for those two boards.
Right, and that would
And then if
be
that
great for
is
us.
successful, then I think it's the 29th would be the following Monday. The difficulty is, though, that we might get in a bind with the 5-day timing for a time meeting and all that stuff, so.
For the 22nd to the 29th?
Yeah,
The
we
7
may have to
days.
go another week for the town meeting, because I think getting 5 days in the paper and everything is not gonna work, but
Could you need it sooner, before June
let me
next
talk to
week?
David. Maybe if he backed up into the prior week, that might save another town meeting week elapsing.
Yeah, we're gonna need, the ARPA committee, though, is gonna need to know by Wednesday morning at 9, by noon on Wednesday morning, because we're gonna have to go faster to get our presentation ready for both of you. So if we're gonna move it sooner than the 22nd, we need to know ASAP.
Okay. So let's work on that. Possibly tomorrow we can
Thanks.
see if get the moons in order.
Okay.
Do you, as we're on that whole thing, do you have any more on the American recovery?
All I'll tell you is that committee has worked their darndest to be transparent, to take everything into consideration. They have put in multiple hours, hundreds of hours on these two grants, the Economic Recovery Grant and the Community Initiative Grant. And I'm extremely proud of that committee and all of its members, and Suzanne, who is our secretary as well. We had a 7-hour meeting one day, just reading through, and we all survived.
Very good. Okay. Let's see. So we've discussed Tantamaheg, a 36 button ball. What I was going to mention there is that there is a plan is being ordered by the Open Space Commission, and I don't know too much about this DEP plan as well. I understood that the gentleman was down from the DEP, but I didn't know there'd be a study as well. So
I think that Mr. Griswold is here, and perhaps he could tell us what exactly is going on, so that we're all aware.
I'd like to have an opportunity to clarify some things that.
and Greg Futama?
In fact, Ms. Blair has recused herself, so she is not here tonight. And so I'm...
That's official, it's not going to change?
It's not going to change. I think it really comes down to this whole idea of jurisdiction, because I find it sort of disturbing that if the Open Space Committee and therefore the Commission, because everything transferred from the Committee of Conservation to the Commission, that if you acquire a piece of property for the town of Old Lyme under the auspices of open space, that another commission in town can come and say, well, you know what, we want something else. And mainly what we're trying to do here is to follow a process which the Open Space Commission has been following for years for any acquisition, And frankly, this piece of property was a kind of a sleeper. There was somebody said that it was donated to the state. Well, in fact, the state bought it from Mr. and Mrs. McGowan. And then for 40 some odd years, did nothing. And there must be a reason for that. And it may be, as Ms. Gaudio pointed out, it could have been budgetary, but I have a sense that this was a piece of property that was marginal at best for water access, and that the state really didn't pay much attention to it because it didn't want to spend the money to develop it to provide the water access which is why they got the property in the first place. They bought the property in the first place, and I don't know, who knows, back in 1958 when they bought it from the McGowans, what the plan was, if there was any. So, but for 40-something years, the state of Connecticut did nothing with the property. They transferred it to the town of Old Lyme under the auspices of the Conservation Commission, Open Space Committee, and the Open Space Committee came to the same general conclusion that that if you were going to develop a piece of property for water access, this was not ideal. There were other places in town that had better access, 24-hour a day access, deep water, come and go when you want, and there was also the issue that the DEEP had this property pegged under the Natural Diversity Database as a potential site for rare or threatened species of plants or animals, and that therefore having the public come and go at will over the salt marsh was probably not a great deal.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The deed restriction, which says it's to be used for access to the Connecticut River, which is, no more. You got to go to Long Island Sound first now. What was this? Who started that restriction? Where did that come from?
I'm frankly not sure. I think it may have been the McGowans that.
I looked at the title. There was no reference in the original title to that language.
Yeah.
So it seemed to come with the property from the state.
Yeah.
And the way it's worded, it's kind of clumsy, I think.
Well, it could be. I'm not an attorney, and I don't.
I wonder if the town asked for it, or whether
I think
the state asked for it.
It was the town, the Open Space Committee. Because nothing was happening on that property, the Open Space Committee petitioned the state to have it transferred to the town. I'm not aware of what was going on in
so many
who was petitioning whom, but whether the state just wanted to get rid of it because it was sort of excess property and therefore, asked the town if they wanted it, or whether the town actively, but it came in under the auspices of the Open Space Commission, so.
What are your plans, or what are?
Okay, we were given when this first came up, we were given the directive to have an environmental assessment because.
I don't remember approving that.
Pardon?
I don't remember approving that. I don't remember voting on giving you the direction to have an environmental study done with money being spent.
I don't remember approving that either. We said to put together a plan and come back to us with a plan for how you wanted to proceed. And we asked that of all both commissions.
Right. That's how,
But how would-
together that day at that meeting, and we said, you do your thing and come back to us, but no, I don't think anybody agreed to who had jurisdiction and who was approved, especially if we're gonna do,
Well, because
if we're gonna come up with a plan and submit it to DEP, I mean, I guess we don't wanna pay for it twice, right? I mean, I think, like, that's probably, I don't know what the cost is, but I'm sure any cost is, I'm sure it's economical and reasonable.
And I would want both committees to see the request for quote, or the request, the statement of work that you're asking DEP to do, because I would want both commissions to sign off on it. And I know I'm relatively new to all of this, but my understanding would be that whether open space has jurisdiction or harbor management, basically the piece of land is owned by the town of Old Lyme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm just going to say that in my situation as a former school teacher, I'd like all of you to play together in the sandbox nicely with each other. And I would really like it if we're going to do a study that everybody says this is what we need from the study, and we all sign off on it and we say this is what we want. And nobody talks to anyone who's doing the study out of turn. Everyone has to be present. That way we can say it was done fairly.
Yeah, I would say that when we had that three-way meeting, at the end, we said, let's slowly here, we don't have to go in a great rush, and let's get the facts. And I think the genesis of the study with open space is that since they essentially were the first group to get the property, they were involved in coming to the town, I think. And so my impression was the DEP came down at the request of the harbor management, the individual, and so...
They weren't there to do a study, though.
No.
They were there to answer some questions.
Right. And so if a study has been commissioned, and that's news, and I think we said to open space, let's if the marsh is fragile, I think they were talking about this database, and, here we are 40 years later from when this transaction occurred, there may be different thinking about the marsh.
Right.
So before we say bring, all the people can come and enjoy the marsh, let's check it out.
I'm not saying, I think Matt and I are on the same page, but on that, we don't want people there until we have a plan and we know what's right. We've got a lot of people in the audience who have had their hands up. But if a study is going to be done, all of the players have to agree to what the scope of the study is.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And because I'm assuming that if we're going to pay for something, you're signing off on the study, correct?
Well, they have a budget, so they
Does harbor management have a budget too? Like it could be a shared expense?
Harbor management, they have an account. I don't know to what extent you have to get permission to use the money in the account.
Well, here's my but again, same here. It's new to the process as well, but when you go to DEP to file do you have to have, like, this plan that you presented earlier, Mr. Presti, with step 1, step 2, 3, is that what you present to DEP as far as what your intentions are? Like, how does that process work? If I just clarify, I need some clarification.
If I can comment for that, sorry, Mr. Lawrence. So basically, when the NEDB is a National Diversity Database, right? So Mr. Grizzle here, Evans, had mentioned that like this property lies within an NEDB-based database overlay, right? So there might be species of concerns around that list or whatever. So when you file an application as part of the pre-application process, it goes to NEDB for a review, and they do a site-specific review generally on the site that you're trying to have a permit on, where you don't get that opportunity until you make application, right, with the department for something that's in their jurisdiction. So as of right now, like, we're not in their jurisdiction because we haven't applied to them yet for a permit to have a gangway.
Does a permit have to be a specific plan or say, hey, we're intending to possibly use this property?
Correct.
Before we proceed, do you still supply?
For anything within the resource. So anything on the
upland, they're not going to comment on that because it's irrelevant, all right? Their resources are below the high tide line and coast jurisdiction line down. Which is important to note here is like the property's in this limbo and they're going to have an environmental study done. Well, the DEP is going to do their own environmental, groundwork on this, and they'll approve or deny an application based on what they find. And the public has the opportunity during the public hearing of the application to bring forward information to present to the department what relevant information they found of a specific species, if there is one, that they can present that at the public hearing for the department on a tentative notice to approve. So like basically, if the department decides they're going to give us a permit for a dock, there'll be something known as a tentative notice of approval, which then gives the public an opportunity to comment whether there's
But how, if a dock permit is requested, how broad is the analysis of the marshes themselves?
They've taken all the resources on that specific site or any resource impacts to the specific project that you're trying to do within the resource. Like, let's say if you're building a gangway 10 feet by 10 feet, with a landing, they're going to look in that area to make sure you're not going to be disrupting.
Yeah, but I think a concern that I would have is that you look at the Black Hall River up and down, you have these people going up and down the river, walking around, and so if it's restricted to a 10-foot wide dock and they don't and do the analysis on the breadth of the property, even beyond the breadth of the property, people mill around and they go out with their fish lines and stuff. They're not on the dock.
There's no place on that riverbank that is a collective place that is channeling people to a specific area to allow them to fish and work in that area, right? Because right now it's just they're running them off because there is no designated space. Whereas if you have a designated space to do this activity, people are more prone to use the designated space. Like so, for instance, down at the DEP dock at Town Lawn, or Ferry Road, you go down there, there's a huge space, right? But people aren't in the marsh down there; they're on the town dock. They're doing the things on the town property.
Yeah, but I would want to make sure that whatever happened, they would analyze the whole breadth of it.
They'll analyze.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
But my point is that like in this limbo time between when that application gets filed and right now, the site can be used and utilized for our general public without having to affect the resource. So they're trying to talk about salt marsh studies and all of those things can be done simultaneously if you choose, but that doesn't stop the public from the ability of going down and using the property from a vista standpoint or from a visual standpoint.
Nobody said that they couldn't.
Well, right now we need to be, if they couldn't, and then open space is in agreement with that, we would need some sort of land.
I will take note that I'm quite sure, either one of you can correct me, but we did ask for those no trespassing signs to be turned to only impact the land that is owned by the golf course. And when I happened to go by Button Ball the other day, I could visually see from there, although there is a tree that is now in full bloom, but they are still facing the road as you come in. So they have not been turned as we asked at that meeting. Was that the case? Do you remember that, Matt?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
Phil
it's
Neeson
technically
said he would turn
I think
the
the sign's on club property, but it would
I know,
be-
he said he'd turn them.
So one thing I noticed is like prior to the last couple of months, the abutter has been maintaining the road going in as far as the side of the road, mowing it and stuff like that. It's no longer being done now that this has all been brought to more attention on this. So now when you drive in and now it's starting to get overgrown and not be more friendly for pedestrians.
Yeah.
Like it normally
Well, let me just say one thing and we'll get to you, because I know you had a hand up. We had that three-way meeting, and I thought at the conclusion that we thought we're going to get our facts together. I thought that included the study. I'm not sure what the DEP study is, but once we get our facts, then I think we need to get together again and sort it all out. Now, if there's going to be a little more dialogue between the commissions, that would be good. If somebody wanted to look at the specifications for the study and comment out on all that. But I think we're hoping to get to the point where we can look at something and make conclusions.
Well, what the Open Space Commission has right now is a proposal for a study, not the study itself.
Right. So that would be good to be sharing it with the others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to let...
So where is that proposal?
The proposal's on I just got it as I walked in the door here, so I've talked to Ms. Gaudio. I will share with her as soon as I
or
to
and
even
and
Chris
Staub.
Yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
My question is,
What is your name, please?
Terry Lewis.
Okay.
Co-chair.
For that.
Being told that we were going to be part of, being CC'd and notified when he was going to present something or see someone down there. Evan, my question is, did you have somebody down there already, and did you meet with somebody, and did they come up with a proposal?
They did. And
so you have.
And so I have the proposal, which I am sharing with your commission and with in the Wetlands Commission and with the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. Now,
my question is, and this is where we kind of start to get off. I thought we were trying to start again on the right foot. Was that we were going to be notified when or who, and we were all going to collaboratively be part of that process. And you did that without letting us know.
Well, we were given the directive by the first selectman.
I think at that three-way meeting, it was that we would get that study moving. Now, I haven't heard about the harbor management study, so
there's no study. There's no study.
Be in collaboration with open space.
Yeah, but you guys had somebody from DEP down.
No, we're talking after your meeting, going forward. We're all in together saying that going forward, you were going to discuss having somebody come down, and our discussion was that you were going to notify us, let us know when you were going. We would all do this together, and we'd work together going forward.
Absolutely.
And you did not do that. You already met with them.
Well,
so that was what I just wanted to clarify.
You've already met with somebody from DEP.
But that was before we had our meeting, and we kind of had a clean slate, and we all got together and said, this is what we want going forward. And if I remember, that's how we wanted. Everyone to play nice and work together. They did what they did before. You guys did what you did before. That's why we got everyone together, because we were all going our own a million miles an hour in different directions. So the past is the past, and we had a clean slate, and obviously.
Okay, legit.
So 2 weeks ago, we had our wetlands regular meeting. Mr. Evan Griswold did come up to me with a business card, and he said, and Evan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said, I heard from this individual today. It was very last minute, and I met with the individual at the property to talk about a proposal. I did get a picture of the business card. I forwarded it to Christoph of the Harbor Management Commission. My concern is that we weren't CC'd on initial communication, whether it was by phone or email. I'm not sure. But going forward, just the fact that this professional should have been given our emails and then been able to CC us on that communication. I think in the hope of collaboration going forward, that individual should be given our email addresses, which are on record on the town hall website.
CC the selectmen as well, so we know it's done as well.
Yep.
And there was on my May 15th email that includes everyone, and now we should take Ms. Blair off that since she's officially recused herself, but that has everyone that should be receiving this communication going forward, including Chair Staub, who can then give it to his commission. I think that's the best way to go forward, because like I said to Martha at the beginning of this meeting, for me as chair, it was very unclear when I should speak, whether it was at public comment or talking about this. And right now, the fact that open space is the only one technically at the table, I think we really have to have something where we're not taking all the public's time unless they're concerned and they want to attend, but that we can all have this discussion without it resulting in animosity.
Yeah, I think we need another meeting.
So, Greg.
Thank you for your that's exactly what I wrote to Longline, that we do that. I wanted to mention a couple of things. One is going back a bit to an earlier comment about the trespassing sign. As you mentioned, that's the country club. Open space has nothing to do with that sign. It's a private entity. And
But Amanda did say she bought the signs, and Phil said he put them up at her request.
That was two property owners. That's not the Open Space Commission. Open Space Commission has...
I know, yeah. I'm just saying, but he said he would turn them, and it would have, since Amanda does live there, and I'm sure some of you have contact with Phil, somebody could have said, hey, Phil, those signs still aren't the right way.
Okay, that notwithstanding, the other thing I wanted to mention was public access. One of the things, it seems like there's two issues with this particular property. One is it's been alleged that if there's not access to the Connecticut River, that this property would revert to the state. So that's been somewhat of a focus. And the other aspect of it is that it's a beautiful piece of property for viewing wildlife and so forth. And speaking again personally and not as a member of the commission, because we haven't discussed the Women Commission, I would be absolutely for that. I think it is a wonderful property to view the wildlife, and I would suspect that most members of the commission would be in favor of that particular use of the property. One of the things I've done in the entire time I've been on the commission is try to encourage public access to town properties. We did that through COVID. I think it was a big help to people. I hope we continue to do that for all our properties, and personally, I have no problem with people accessing that property. Just like we do with other property, that people, carry out their waste and be good models.
Mm-hmm. So my concern is if it's not being maintained on the siding there, does that affect the DEP study?
No, not necessarily.
I'm just curious.
Sorry, what was the question?
You said it had been being mowed in the past, and now it's not. Does that affect anything?
No. So that's one thing I'm requesting of the Board of Selectmen today is that we have the ability for Public Works to go down there and start doing some regular maintenance or mowing like they do every other parcel of land that we own and maintain. Like coming in here off Ferry Road, this other Ferry Road over here, like there's the landing down there where the fire well is, it's all mowed and maintained. This is also another water location that is, I'm not sure if it's just the pond or if they're referring to the river as a water access point for the fire department, but it needs to be mowed and maintained. And right now, there's poison ivy running rampant in the areas that the general public would walk. And I think it's up to this commission to put Public Works to task to go in and mow and maintain. I mean, the abutter just recently was blowing all their leaves over onto the town property. And now there's a mess down there from all the leaves and debris that were just blown over across the property line. So there's maintenance that needs to be done there. And if we just keep waiting and scheduling meetings out in the future, that's more opportunity for the public are not going to be able to enjoy the property. We don't need to get water access at this point, but we do need to be able to make it user-friendly for the people that are going to use it.
Well,
So I have a question. Who maintained the property up until?
I'm just assuming the abutter, but the mowing stopped after I saw the survey flags go up. If you went down there now and compared the photos from 2 months ago to today, the growing season is here. It wasn't always overgrown, it was always maintained. You can tell just looking at the brush overgrowth to the left side of the property to the right side of the property. You can tell somebody's been actively maintaining it. So now, all of a sudden, it's not being maintained anymore. Now it's growing rampantly, and the access to this public access location is now being restricted due to the overgrowth. So we really need...
Well, the homeowner's going to have to get in there no matter what.
Well, she's got her driveway regardless. My point is that like the left and right side of the driveway were almost like a field, and now they're just like 3 feet high.
I mean, I was there the weekend before Easter, I believe, and it was very walkable. It wasn't overgrown. Yeah. There were leaves.
Well, I think we need to get this maybe another meeting with the groups.
Tim, we're just talking about maintaining the land part of it. And
well, it hasn't been maintained in many years.
No, it has. It has definitely been maintained.
I went there with you several months ago. It was walkable.
Oh, yeah. So, there's an access road going in, and then there's an area probably within 200 feet of the abutting property line that's been maintained. When I say maintained, there's no low brush, there's no big trees. It's walkable, mowable area that now is not being mowed. But it was being mowed previously. And it wasn't being mowed by the town. Let's just put it that way. So I don't know if some person's going out and push mower or the abutter maintaining it. But, and the abutter has her bench on the town's property that's been maintained. That is no longer being maintained. Now the bench is moved back onto her clear that it's been maintained, it's just not being maintained now, and I feel like
Well,
that's not...
I don't think we can just automatically tell Public Works to go down there tomorrow and start doing stuff,
I'm not saying that, but would we have the blessing of this to have a committee that, or not committee, but volunteers that will go down and do land improvements like they do on every other open space lot?
But I think it has to be, I think we got to get the cooperation with the groups, and if people have been kind of doing things separately, maybe they come together and talk about who's doing what and so forth. That was the spirit of the first meeting of the three groups, and I think we need to get that going again, and then hopefully come up with a consensus plan, because I still feel the friction and all that, and I think we need to get to the point where we're moving forward in a direction step by step. And when I walked the property with Chris Staub, he was not pushing to make it look like a park right away. You know, we can let people come and look and so forth, but in terms of we got to figure out who's going to do what, and you know, if you start putting benches and trash cans and everything else, that's a whole different deal.
That's not it. We're asking to clean up poison ivy, do some raking, not putting anything in just to keep it neat. It's what they're. I would think that all three groups, even inland wetlands, if you put together out a request, I would think all members and maybe other people from the town would be happy to do a work party there under the instruction of someone who knows what we're doing, and that we're not putting anything down. We're just going to rake heavy-duty labor.
Well, even just to make it clear, what we suggested at the beginning was as some sort of environmental assessment, so that we know what's there before anything is. You go in there and you start, you know, mowing, raking, and what if there's something there that.
But the other person
maintaining
it wasn't worried about what was there if they were maintaining it.
It was beautifully maintained.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. You could see right
just
there.
on the roadside.
So being done by laymen, you know, we have a chance to make a roadmap with the various people that know a lot about this. I think we're coming to the end of this discussion. I think we can't spend an hour on this.
I just want to say I'm really happy to see this, that the plan is there. You know, a couple of things that I would like to discuss further.
Well, I would submit that maybe we can next 10 days or so we can get the groups together and start quickly.
Do an NDDB request right now to Deep. It's free. I've done it as an attorney before I left private practice. So all you have to do, if we're concerned about the maintenance of the area, we're not going onto the title level.
Well, it's more than the title. It's also this coastal forest.
I understand that, but the NDDB map is very easy to navigate, and you can find the section and send it to Deep and say, we're interested in the species that you think are contained in this area. The lag time right now is a couple weeks, but that could at least get us started. It doesn't have to be, it's pre-application for any work that we would be considering, and by we I mean the town, be considering for water access, but it might also give us clarity about what's located in the coastal forest.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe what we could do would be to form a group of some people from different commissions and make a bit of a committee to help plan some steps and iron some of these kinks out and get moving.
I just want to be clear, Tim, we don't, when we have an mentioned coastal forest, like our intention is not to go in and mow down the forest. Our intention is to clean out invasive species and the species that are going to hurt the general public. So, you know, poison ivy,
maybe what we could do would be to form a group that would be the initial, just to see where we're going and look at the proposal and understand more what this DEP study is. That's the first I've heard of that.
Would open space be willing, would open space harbor management and inland wetlands agree here without, I don't know, you guys, the chair, if you have that authority or not, what you recommended to at least get some ball rolling for like kind of study. It's free. It's, what is it called?
The Natural Diversity Database, NDD, as stated,
Natural
Diversity Database.
I think that at least that gives us something to go on. I mean, if I would.
We shouldn't need an NDD review to go in and mow the lawn.
Well, if it makes people feel better,
would you all agree that to get maybe a couple of people from each of the commissions to create a little group to start working on this?
Sure. Absolutely.
I think that would give everybody a voice at the table, and then we can.
With this working group, can we possibly, as we're creating this group right now in this discussion, if this group comes to consensus that we might be able to do some sort of improvement of the land without an NDDB review? Just because, like, there could be 75.
If you decide on that as a group, but all I ask is that we be kept in the loop of everything.
Yeah. I think open space is open to public access.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to wait another month, so we have another month worth of growth going on. People not.
I would suggest that there'd be two members of each committee represented at the table.
Yeah.
And that's 6 people, and you come together and work out a plan of how to manage it as far as going right now.
Initial steps. Yep.
Initial steps that everyone's happy with, and then we'll see. And
I just want to make sure that the Board of Selectmen understand that the Open Space Commission has a process in dealing with property, and we have, under our charter, the major part of our process is finding out what the ecological values and benefits and pitfalls are before we start trails or.
We're not doing trails.
And
we're just asking to get.
Well, I mean, maybe
it was flat as a pancake when I went.
Yeah.
Cleaned up.
If you're going to clean it out, maybe making a trail to a place where
we're not. Why don't the 6 of you from the committee go down there and everybody can point out what they're concerned about and have a discussion, and then let us know what happens.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
And I would really appreciate it if someone would contact Phil Neaton and ask him to move the signs to the side of the tree.
I called him the other day, he said he was still waiting for direction.
We could speak to Phil and have him rotate it.
Great. That would be perfect.
Would it be possible to, someone has gone down there recently and had a survey done. I don't know if it was the abutter that had the survey done, but all the monuments have been located and flagged. Are you guys aware of that, the Open Space Commission at all?
Yeah, that's part of the process of what the Open Space Commission does.
Yeah, we were notified.
Yeah, who was the surveyor?
Richard Gates.
So there's more communication here that's going on that we're not being made aware of. It's frustrating.
Well, we just figured out a mechanism to create better communication, so let us work to that. Why don't you submit names to me and we'll circulate that and try to
Mr. Gates provide you with
He was actually down there doing. He was asked by Ms. Blair to do her property, not the town property, but she wanted to know where her line was.
So the flags that are there are her line?
They're also on the north side of the town line. But what I was going with this is that we have a 40-foot right-of-way coming into this property. It might behoove us to find out where that delineated 40-foot wide right-of-way is because of the trespassing sign situation.
I would suggest, though, that Ms. Blair must have gotten a report from Mr. Gates, some type of written.
I don't know if he's finished his work or not.
But did she hire him directly or through the Open Space?
I guess if she's doing her own survey, it would seem so. All right, we're going to move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you all for putting more effort into having a joint committee. I think it'll be very beneficial.
Okay, Soundview update, I don't know, we sort of covered that, and there'll be a meeting Wednesday of that group, so. Okay, just to pick up the pace, town meeting recap. The town meeting approved the budget. It also approved the sale of the property to the Hansons and to accept the Short Hill Road property. The ordinance change having to do with the people appointed positions was withdrawn. And so we'll think about that. So I think it was good to get the budget done for sure, and these other items that were carried, very good, so that worked out pretty well. The Selectmen at the last, on the 25th, we had that special meeting that we mentioned. We accepted, we approved the the affordable housing plan. So that now can go to the state of Connecticut, and that takes care of our commitment. And we certainly applaud the Affordable Housing Commission on that. The next item is this Ferry Road recommendation from the committee to confirm that the sidewalk will be situated on the north side of the street. Does anybody want to?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll make a motion for the selectmen to approve the recommendation by the Ferry Walk Sidewalk Committee to be installed on the north side of Ferry Road.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All right, anything else on that before we vote? All in favor?
Wait. Can we just indicate in that motion that we would like to see a budget soon? We've been working on this for a while.
Well, I'll just make a statement. It's the motion's already.
Okay, fine. But I'd like to see a budget.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Tomorrow, there'll be interviews with 3 candidates for the facility director and possibly the information technology consultant as one position. So we will see where that comes out. And the land use administrator, we have some information on that, but that interview process has not been scheduled. And the last item under new business is the Household Hazardous Waste Day. The 18th, the town will have its own collection day at the middle school from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. And so it's right here. People in Lyme and Old-Lyme can come down and deposit their materials at that collection day. We put it in a couple of news releases already.
Can Michelle also make that one of the banners on the website?
I think she should, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Other business. I'll lead off with the fact that at the library there was a witness stone program. 16 witness stones have been approved to be placed. It'll ultimately be, I think, from Sill Lane down to the cemetery on McCurdy as to where the stones are. So these stones go down McCurdy and up toward the green. So that'll be a total of 30 because 14 were previously agreed to.
We have 3 more years.
I think it's a 5-year program.
So we've had 2.
And the last I have is the senior car parade in conjunction with the PTOs for the graduation will be the Thursday the 9th at 6 p.m. So it'll start basically at the firehouse and proceed down Lime Street and then go down McCurdy Road and dissipate.
And we would encourage the
it'd be fun.
townspeople to come out.
Yeah, it's fun to see all the kids in the cars and the people on the side of the street. It's kind of fun.
It's like a mini parade.
Yeah.
2 in a month.
Yeah. Any other business?
Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you everyone that came out for the Memorial Day Parade. It was a great turnout. Also, thank you to the Lime Police Department and Resident Trooper's Office and Troop F, as well as the Public Works for all the work they did over the Memorial Day weekend and cleaning up all the trash and it was a pretty busy, crazy weekend down there, and I know everyone was working long hours, and I appreciated it. Don't forget the graduation, June 10th, 6 p.m., high school. I got one graduating, first one. Congrats to the boys baseball team that made it 2 rounds into the state tournament. Did really well. The girls softball team is still in the state tournament. They play tomorrow against Cromwell, who they already beat twice. And also congrats to the girls tennis team for back-to-back state championships. I think they went 43-0 in the last few seasons, so very, very proud of them. Great turnout for all that. One old business, I don't know if we talked about it or if this is appropriate, but the 2 old police cars at the old police cars at the PD. I know they're trying to scrap them, but we just need permission.
We usually put them on the website with a
I heard that their mechanical value is very limited. They were just going to, I don't know if it's more of a scrap value right now.
We've sold them actually. I know 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
I know Ed and Matt were looking
and the ATV
to get those out of the way because they're taking up space.
Maybe you could help us with some verbiage to put it on the web, the year and whatever would be appropriate in the ATV as well.
Yep.
Do we have a process on how we dissolve ourselves of town property?
Yeah, you put it, usually they have like auction sites where you can put.
There is, but there's usually a way that,
we've just advertised it on the web.
You can do whatever you want to get rid of it, but usually at least it goes out in a note that's saying that we are getting rid of it, so that the people know that because taxpayers did pay for it, so it's only, there is a process of.
If we put an ad in the paper, it'd probably be more expensive.
I'm not asking you to put an ad in the paper, I'm just saying that it's supposed to be a process when you get rid of property that there's some type of a notification, and it doesn't have to be in a paper, but it should be on the website saying, Nicole has something to say to that.
Yep.
Well, so as part of the accounting process, we have to keep track of all fixed assets. So we have them, we have fixed asset inventory, we appreciate all that other stuff. So we we ask department heads to only go through us if they're going to sell anything. Usually Ed will come in or Matt, and they'll say, hey, I want to sell this, I'm getting something new. We get the title information, we have files with all files of titles, proposals, whatever, and we usually give it to the selectmen's office, they put it on the website, and then any sale goes through with Tim's signature.
Okay. As is, where is. Yeah, usually we sold a truck locally.
I'll work with you to help Matt facilitate. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second, and it's not dark.
At 7:34.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh.